Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffy Kennedy, author of fantasy romance and romantic fantasy. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. Ah, so good. Delicious. Ah, today is Tuesday. I was going to say Tuesday, 8/22. It's not actually. It's Tuesday, September 28th. What's wrong with me this morning? September 28th. It happens to be 8:22 in the morning. A light rain here in Santa Fe this morning, and I'm seeing if I'm getting actual rain on my laptop, which is probably bad, right? But very little is sifting through. But I am going to open my umbrella anyway because it's not that cold. I have my jacket on. Trying to figure out how I can do this to shield the laptop. There, how's that? That works great. So the laptop gets the umbrella, not me. If it starts raining hard, I'll have to move inside, but I don't think it's going to. Famous last words, right? Now there's something in my eye again this morning. I think it's this new mascara. Hang on. All right. It could be the mascara. Um, this is like all of these myriad consequences that we're still dealing with that are so petty of the pandemic. And yet, it's amazing the way that they impact our lives. It's, all these little ripples. So, Santa Fe does not have an actual Mac store. Mac makeup is my favorite. They are not paying me to say this, but I would happily take their money or product. Either would be fine. Um, but there is a Dillard's, and I somebody commented at one point that they wish that their town had a Dillard's. So I try to be glad. I lived for a very long time in a smallish town in Wyoming where we had nothing, and you had to drive an hour to get to really anything. I mean, it was like we had a Walmart and little shops. The story of small town America, right? So at least there's a Dillard's here. Um, but it was funny when I went to, and I think I even mentioned this to you guys because it was kind of a big deal where I really needed more mascara, and I went to buy my more mascara, and it just took me a long time to get there. So I was very happy on the day that I went to buy it. Oh yeah, I did tell you guys about it because I got my free lipstick. That was the score. That was my getting things free day. But the gal who assisted me at the counter in Dillard's was the way that like a department store like Dillard's, for those of you who don't live in the US or aren't familiar, they have like all of the different makeup counters kind of clustered together in the like cosmetics area. And so there's like Clinique and you know I don't know what all, and each one has its little section. And typically they have, well, I think in really flush times there's like a person working each counter, sometimes a couple. I've been at the Mac counter in Dillard's when there were like two or three people working there. Well, not so much post pandemic, when they keep complaining that they can't get staffing, can't hire people, but it's like I wonder how much of this is them like trying to work their profit margins, because the gal who helped me was lovely and charming, very young, and it was her very first day. And she had to be fetched from another area by one of the other gals. And I think it might have been the two of them working all of the cosmetic counters. And she knew jack shit about Mac. And she was very sweet about it. She's like, well, I guess we can learn together because I didn't bring in my empty mascara case and I never know what brand I have. I know what it looks like, right? Not what brand, like which specific style. And I'm like, I just know I have the kind that's good for wearing with contact lenses because it doesn't flake. And she goes, oh. And I could tell she like has absolutely no idea. But again, sweetness goes a long way, people, and she was very sweet. And she's gets out the different containers, and none of them look like mine because, of course, they've changed the packaging. So she and I finally settle on the one with the curved brush because she's like, I like the kind that have the curved brush. And I said, well, you know what? I do too. So we'll just go with that. But it is not the correct one. It's a very long story about mascara. Bear with me. Ah, so let's see. I finished reading The Witch Hunter, the Max Seek book, and I could see why there are the reviews on Amazon that there are. It doesn't quite hold together. Um, it's sort of this layers and layers of twists, which I know people like and authors like to try to pull off. But when there's the contention in all storytelling, that's what do we call it? The refrigerator moment. I don't like that because it is confused with woman in the refrigerator, and I don't like confusing it with that because I feel like that's a really important trope to talk about and avoid. It could really just be the character in the refrigerator, but woman in the refrigerator is where it comes from. And I guess since I mentioned it, I should explain that woman in the refrigerator comes from uh, a comic strip in which I think it was a comic in which the hero's girlfriend was literally stowed in a refrigerator. She was killed and found locked in a refrigerator in like a junkyard, and this was his motivation to go forward. And so the whole point of why this is a very unfortunate trope is including characters in your story who are there only to die and motivate more important characters. It's not great. Moving the umbrella because it's kind of stopped raining now. Get a little bit more light. Let there be. So, yeah. So I, I'm trying to remember what people call it, but it has something to do with the refrigerator plot point or something, where if a story suspends your disbelief while you're watching it, and you only think of the plot problems when you've gone to the refrigerator to get a snack. There's a word for this often. It's like refrigerator timing, or I don't know, something. Anyway, if it's that's okay. That's the contention, is that as long as the story carries you in the moment and you don't think of the plot problems until later, then they're not actual problems. Let's take a poll. Do you guys agree with this? What do you think? I would really love to hear what you think because I hear creators talk about this all the time. To me, I think that's lazy plotting. I think that if you are counting on your readers or listeners to only figure out that there's a massive plot hole like 5 minutes after the story's done and they're getting a snack from the refrigerator, then there's a problem and you're just hoping that they don't figure it out too fast, right? I mean, that's essentially what it's saying. So, yeah, since I finished reading the book, I mean, I talked about the other day, yesterday, maybe it was yesterday, time flies, uh, how intense the beginning was and riveting, and that it scared me. It freaked me the fuck out, which is kind of the gold standard for me. But it then backed off, and at first I was relieved because I could not have sustained engaging with that level of intensity for that long. I really needed the breather. But then there it never really regained that level of intensity. In fact, it kind of petered out. And I was a little disappointed because I felt like, and this is something we talk about, right? The contract with the reader, the promise in the book. I felt like the early promise in the book was not fulfilled. I felt like it didn't deliver. And I even said, and I don't usually talk books down, but I figure Mexi doesn't know me and doesn't care. And I'm not really talking it down because I still think it's worth reading. And I still think the beginning is a brilliant setup. Um, and I learned so much from reading this book. But I had said to Grace um, that she might be interested in reading it when I was in those early stages. And she said, "Well, I'll wait for you to finish it and see if you still think I should read it." Because she's very judicious about her time. She has to be. She's not a layabout like me. She doesn't have the quiet time to read that I do. So she said, "Well, I'll wait and see what you think." And I said, "Well, I think it's going to be worth it unless they Scooby Doo the ending." And you know what, you guys? They kind of Scooby Doo the ending. Um, and I feel like so many supernatural, paranormal stories do that, at least ones that are set in our world. Like there just has to be this moment at the end where the author kind of winks and is like, ha ha ha, um, you know, silly dog, ghosts don't really exist. I'm sure that there are plenty of, oh, now you're getting umbrella shade on my face. But since there's sun, let's keep it that way. Actually, that's a pretty good solution for when the sun's coming over the wall. Um, yeah. So what's interesting is there was a whole flashback subplot in the story, and the first time the story goes into this flashback, and it's of the main character Jessica's as a younger woman when she's like 19, and the first time it goes to it, you're like, what the fuck does this have to do with anything? And in many ways, the I'm trying to think of how to say this. um I thought that it would be really integral to the solution of the murder, that was why this thread was introduced. And while there was some relevance, um, it actually wasn't. And yet, and there's a reveal at the end that was really cool and interesting, but also kind of not related to the actual murder plot. And I don't know, it was just kind of funny. But the other thing about this subplot was, set the umbrella down now. The other thing about this subplot was that it was really that my being very interested in that story that compelled me to keep reading. It wasn't so much the solving of the murders. I don't know, as invested in the solving of the murders as I was in this personal story of hers. I can't make up my mind on this umbrella. Sorry, you guys. I have a little extra chime there for you. So, so that's my analysis of the book, without spoiling anything. But I am doing the uh, second guessing. I'm trying to think of what this phrase is, but it's not armchair quarterbacking or Monday morning quarterbacking. Um, but like I've started thinking about, well, wait, what about this thread, and what was it with that one guy? Um, so I don't know. So we'll put. I probably won't put up an official poll, but let me know. Does I know that I am a more critical reader, and you guys have pointed that out before. That like world building details that that bother me, you guys are able to overlook if you love the story. So that might be the same thing. Like if you only think of the plot holes later, does it matter? Um, and it could be that that's just my writer analysis doing that. And then I picked up this other story that was sort of like caught my eye that I thought was going to be like Helen Stone's Jane Doe, which I thought was amazingly well done. And this was a gal who had self-published a psychological thriller like this. And I thought, well, I'll just continue on my same jaunt because it's like, oh, she's climbing the ranks and all of this, and Scottish gal. And I'm sort of like feeling that reading different cultures right now. And I started reading that, and it was just like, oh, honey, no. So that one, I got the sample, and like I tapped out, I don't know, 6%. Well, I probably read half the sample, but I was like, So we'll see. Looking for my next read. Actually, I've got a few different things. St. Martin's Press sent me A Widow of Rose House, which I've heard a lot of people talking about and really liking. So, but it's on paper. But I might read that. Obviously, it's on paper. Actually, it'd be really nice if when I should suggest that to them. If they're going to send us the paper books for us to post about and talk up, it would be nice if they would also email us the ebooks for those of us who don't like reading on paper. But I am going on a little bit of a road trip this week. Um, I'm going to be heading to Tucson to go see my darling mother and stepfather and stepsister and her family. So yeah, step family, Brett and Hope. If you guys are listening to this, surprise, we just decided. So we're gonna get to Tucson like Thursday afternoon and leave on Sunday. But I will. So I will not be doing a podcast Thursday or Friday, but I may go ahead and just do one tomorrow to make up for that. And yeah, otherwise I'm working on this secret project and it's hard. uh, I don't know why. It's just being difficult, but I think I'm kind of, I don't know. I don't know. Uh, I think I told you guys, I know that I'm probably repeating, but that Jim Sorensen suggested that I just write it for myself, that I stop worrying about like what Sarah wants or what other people want and just write it for myself. And I think that's really good advice. Um, but it's also not easy advice to follow. Uh, Alas for that. But I am trying to do that. Um, it's hard because when you're a newbie writer and you're writing things, it's much easier to write things for yourself because you don't have so much information in your head about what other people want. Because after a while, you start figuring out that what you like and stuff is not what, at least for me, not what a lot of people like. And I don't know if that's true of all authors. I've always been one of these people who's like, a step off the mainstream. I'm never quite solidly in the how everybody else thinks. I don't know why, but it's the story of my life. Actually, what's weird is that I'm like ahead of things. So like things that I think are really cool and I'll like a few years later, everybody else will think is really cool. It's like, but when I liked it, everybody thought that I was just strange and they didn't get me. So I don't know. I've always been fascinated with the idea of how Merlin lives backwards, um, which has cropped up in my stories a few times. Alert readers will notice. But yeah, so sometimes I wonder, like, if my timing is just slightly off from everybody else's. Uh, but anyway, yeah. So the thing is that we can only write for ourselves. That's how you have to do it because uh, even if you have other voices and even if you try to guess what other people want, you're still only guessing. So I have to keep reminding myself of that. I should make myself another poster that's something something pithy. As many of you guys know, I have a poster over my desk that says, "What would you write if you weren't afraid?" Which kind of gets at that, because it's that fear of writing the wrong thing or not being successful or any of those things. But I need something else that's like, I don't know, shut up voices. I don't know what it would be. So, anyway, I'm going to get to work. Oh, I'm also going to sneeze. Thank you. Two sneezes today. Ah, all right. I am going to get to work. I will remind you all that Jeffy Kennedy's First Cup of Coffee is part of the Frolic Media Podcast Network, and you will find more podcasts that you love at frolic.media/podcasts. And I will talk to you all probably tomorrow, and if not tomorrow, then Monday. You all take care. Have a brilliant week. Go out, be creative, do things for yourself, seriously. And if you figure out how, teach me. You all take care. Bye bye.